Billy, it seemed like kind of the same culprit, maybe a little different in the first quarter, but the same culprit as far as guys kind of hit with adversity and just not reacting well. The camera had a close-up on Wendell in the third quarter, and he just looked tortured as he was walking off the floor. I mean, how can you – I know we're asking you the same thing, but how can you turn that around so these guys don't let bad plays just kind of wear on them and kind of take anything out of their hands that they have as far as a rally?
I think, Joe, you hit the whole thing right in the head. One is, I think, whatever the run was there in that second quarter, 21-0, whatever, we got to basically be able to stop the bleeding sooner than that. But, you know, I've told these guys, in an NBA game, there's usually a 23-point swing, which means that a team is either up 11, 12, 13 points, and the game will swing back and forth that much, right? So we get up by 6 or 8 or whatever it is, and they kind of make a run. They turn up the heat. They turn up the pressure. You know, we have a couple turnovers and we don't stop it, you know, and that's this team's, you know, so to speak, across the bear. They don't handle it. They don't at all. And, you know, they don't, I think they internalize their mistakes. They internalize what's going on. And I've said this before, they've got to do it together. They have to do it together. They have to fight together to do it together. And, you know, we're probably on most nights not going to be the most athletic or the most talented or the most experienced, but we can be a team we have control over that could have a lot more fight, you know, in ourselves there. And I agree with you. I came out on the court one time because I saw them kind of come out of the huddle and they were just all kind of looked totally dejected. And the bottom line is this is professional basketball, and you've got to be able to respond and deal with adversity. And I think for anybody at this level, if you can't handle that, it's hard to be a great player at this level. And you know, it's something we're addressing and we're talking about on a constant basis. Actually, I know, you know, obviously the score got a little bit out of control there, but like even the way we came out to start the third quarter, you know, they ran off 10 straight points. The lead goes from 10 to 20, and you know, I thought we actually did a lot better things. So I thought our defense was a lot better, you know, in the first half. I thought we moved the ball well. I thought we executed a little bit better. You know, we're playing against a good team. It's been in the playoffs, you know, for a while here now. And we get into that adversity stage, like you said. You know, I think Patrick inbounded a couple times. It got stolen twice. And then we had, I think, 9 turnovers in the second quarter for 17 points. And all that being said, you know, we're still down 10, which is not certainly insurmountable. And to start the third quarter, we did not respond, you know, with trying to get a stop and multiple stops. And all of a sudden, you know, you score a couple quick points and now maybe a 10-point lead's down to 4 or 6. But that's going to be this team's biggest challenge, is how well they can handle that.
Thanks, Billy.
Thank you.
KC, go ahead.
Yeah, Billy, talking about asking you about the same guy. You know, Wendell, after last game, admitted that, you know, he's kind of in his own head. And he looks like a guy who's kind of, you know, thinking the game and not playing the game. I know he's a young player, but what can you guys do as a staff to try to get him going? And how much of a concern is his play early in the season?
You know, I think anytime you know, put somebody, so to speak, in a different role, it's going to take a little bit of time, you know, for him to play out of it. And, you know, listen, for early in his career, and obviously his experience level is maybe not what it should be for a third-year player because of his injuries and the number of games he's played. But he's basically been a screener, a roller, and a diver to the basket and played along the baseline and offensive rebound. I mean, that was really his game. And you know, I think that he is a good passer. He does have a good feel, but there's a lot of movement going on. I thought he was more aggressive driving the ball today. I thought he did some better things. I thought he took some little short rolls. Obviously, he's got to make those at a more consistent level. He didn't shoot particularly well. I actually thought he was more aggressive in our offense today. I mean, last game, I think going into the half, he had 1 shot. It was good to see him get up in double-digit shots. Now, he's got to do a better job of finishing. But I thought he played more assertively, you know, today, and that was encouraging to see. And I thought Lowry has played very, very physical and assertive, and that was really, really good to see as well.
Cody Westerland, go ahead.
Hey, Billy, after just seeing some of the mistakes that you talk about and then seeing the same ones, is this challenge greater or different than what you anticipated teaching these guys?
No, I mean, I think you're dealing with challenges on every team. Listen, these guys are a great group of guys. They do work very, very hard. They come in every single day and try to get better as a group. I have great respect for that. But I think as young players, when you've experienced losing, it can beat you down. And the bottom line is, as they get further and further beaten down, they have to be responsible for their own rescue. If someone throws a life raft out there, you have to actually swim to it. You can't just say, hey, bring it to me. We've got to be responsible for digging ourselves back out of a hole. And I do think it is a mentality. I do think it is a disposition, and I do think it's an attitude. And as young guys, that probably for a lot of them, I think, and I don't know all these guys to say I know all their lives so intimately, but Kobe was a decorated player coming out of high school and 1 year in college. Same thing with Wendell, same thing with Lowry. And, all of a sudden the talent level maybe evens out. Maybe even certain nights the talent level's greater than them. And you have to find something to hang your hat on. And I think the one thing they all have control over is how they respond to the competitive challenges night in and night out. And as younger players, they're going to have to do that. They're going to have to respond to that and learn. And I feel like it's my responsibility as a coach to help them with that, to try to teach it to them, to try to talk to them about that, to try to show them things, to give them an understanding of what that looks like. It's easy to say, okay, there's adversity, you got to respond. Okay, well, I think for a lot of them, they need help how to respond. How do they, now they've gone on a run, how do we get together? What do we have to do? And how do we go about doing it? What should we be thinking? What should be our thought process? And, I'm not expecting something that's been like that for a while to just all of a sudden pick up and change in one day. I think it's going to be a process to get them over some of those things.
We're going to take 3 more for Coach. Eric, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Coach? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Obviously, you talked about, getting them that mindset, that mentality. But for you, is there a situation throughout your career that you can think of that can help you in this situation where you're trying to change the franchise around? Is this a situation where you can draw back on to help the guys overcome this moment?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was not nearly as talented as any of these guys. I mean, back when I was playing, I think there were still five rounds in the draft. I think I was drafted in the 3rd round, and at best I was probably going to be a 13th guy on the bench, waving a towel, cheering guys on. I mean, I wasn't good enough to play. But for me, I had to deal with it probably at a younger age than a lot of these guys. I was totally recruited by Division II schools. I didn't really get an offer from a Division I school to probably in the spring of my senior year. So I kind of had to have that mentality. And for me, it was more like I understood the importance of winning because, I mean, I had to be kind of I had to go through that, even playing in New York in the parks and schoolyards and things like that, when there's 25 or 30 guys out there waiting to play. And if you don't win, you got to sit down. You kind of understand, you learn some of those things. And I don't know. I mean, obviously so much has changed for, a lot of guys with basketball so organized now. It's not as much pickup ball. These guys are so decorated, they're so heralded. They're on TV. It's a totally different world. And you know what? In a lot of ways, they have a lot more difficulty of dealing with what they have to deal with now than whenever I had to. There was no social media and that stuff when I was growing up. But when you haven't necessarily faced a lot of it, it's something that's foreign to you. And really what it does is, I think the adversity, it shatters you and makes you question how good you are, and it's easy to say, oh, I got confidence in myself. But, when you're struggling and you're trying to go out there and perform and compete, and, the only way you can work your way out of it is to just do that. You have to work, and you've got to be really determined, and you've got to be really incredibly focused and driven to be great at this level, in my opinion. If there's one thing with some of the players that I was fortunate enough to coach, in Oklahoma City, from a Chris Paul to a Russell Westbrook to a Kevin Durant, their internal drive is, I mean, it's like incredible what they do, just how driven and motivated and relentless they are. And we need to get more of a relentless attitude and spirit. And I thought we did a little bit of a better job, But when that one hit us, when they turned up the heat there against us, we did not respond, and we've got to do it. And listen, I'm coaching them. That's our job. I've got to try to help them as best I can, and I got to keep working with them and maybe show them different ways or do things to try to help them understand that. So, I thought we were more organized on offense today. I thought we helped a little bit more on defense today. But once that run came, we were just like kind of just trying to dig ourselves back out of that hole, and the game kind of got away from us, and we closed out the second quarter fairly well, but then it got away from us again to start the third. You got to sit there and say, okay, thank God we're only down 10. Let's come out and let's really, get off to a great start.
Okay, two more, Coach. Next up is Jamal. Go ahead.
Hey, Billy, just want to ask you about, you kind of played Kobe, I think, off the ball, felt like quite a bit tonight, just especially in there with Sato. What you like about those lineups, and is that kind of a way? What you also just like about Sato's night? I think overall the way he passed.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know really what to expect there. I wanted to get Denzel in there. I wanted to get Sato and Garrett in there. I think, to keep prolonging it, I've got to see what those guys look like out there. I want to go back and look at the lineup that was out there when they went on that run. But I thought those three guys did a pretty good job. Denzel, I've told him this. He's going to have to. He's got such a good feel of how to play. He's a smart player. He's a good passer. He's a good shooter. But his defense can't be something that keeps him off the floor, and he's really got to work at that. And he's competitive enough that I think he will. But I also know when they went on that run, not that it was anybody's fault. It was collectively as a group. We just didn't handle it better. So like his plus minus, I know was really, really bad just because I think he was out there during that time too, but I don't want to sit there and say he was the reason because of that. It was the whole group that was out there.
Last question goes to Cheryl. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Hi, Billy. I know it's very early and I know you're dealing with young players, but at some point do you have to think of adjusting your starting rotation or your rotation overall, maybe getting different players in there, maybe with a little more confidence, a little more ability at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point. And I think I said earlier, before the game, I think I was asked by somebody who was talking about, the rotations and things like that. And the reality is we've had a lot of these guys out, we just haven't had a full complement of players. So it's hard for me to really see what a lot of those players look like. So I've got to kind of see it, out there in the game. I mean, I thought we got off to a pretty good start. We're playing pretty well. To start the second quarter with about 9 minutes, I think, to go, maybe 8 minutes to go is when their run started. But we were okay. But like, obviously that starting group, in some games has had some really, really big, negative plus minuses at the end of games. So yeah, I think you have to look at all those things, who works well together. I've thought about I've never seen it, but you could have an experienced second unit with Thad and Garrett and Otto and Sato. They've been around, but maybe mixing some of those guys into the starting lineup could be better. I think this is going to be something we're going to have to figure out because we, one, now have limited practice time with the number of games, and two, with some of the things that we've had to deal with from a health standpoint, we didn't really get a chance to look at it really much in training camp. So we're going to have to go through some games and have it be a little bit of a trial or an error, to be quite honest with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, Coach. That's all for tonight.
Okay, thank you.